For me, I would say, a lot of talk saying who's more favorable to win, right? I mean, we would have to say, really, because of this year, it's still Creamline.
Yeah.
Creamline is still the intact team. Not to mention, for me, they represented the country.
Right.
So the experience they got from there was priceless, and they're obviously going to bring it into today's game. Into actually the semifinals, and hopefully for them the finals. So for Petrogas, for me, every time it's a reinforced conference, they have this spirit,
Right.
no?
You're
Renewed
right.
spirit. So they're gonna take that and their foreign guest player, and they're gonna make a really tough match, especially tomorrow.
It's crazy that you mentioned that kasi talagang parang there's some sort of rivalry that has been between these two teams brewing up over the years. But what do you think who do you think will make the difference? You mentioned here it maybe the setters will dictate the tempo?
For me, because each team has already played, 8 games?
Yeah.
Each.
Right.
So we can see the progress. Each team has gotten better, arguably, but for me, a lot of these teams has gotten better. They have polished different skills, like the middle blocking, the opposite. So for me, since, given that being equal, that being said, you have the foreign guest players. All the guest players are slowly but surely gelling with the team. They're blending in already. So I feel really the key person per team right now will be the setter, because they have to take risks.
Right.
They have to make, decision making. And I know there's a system in place. I know that. We know that.
Yeah.
But it's how they adapt to certain situations that will be key for victory for me.
What did you see in the the prelims that worked for both these teams that you feel would be a difference maker pagdating sa semis? Because we've seen them already throughout different adversity. We've seen them all throughout different situations. But then what do you think could they bring into the semis that would make a big difference here for both teams?
For me, I was looking at the previous games. In these 4 teams that's in the semifinals, none of their games went straight sets. It's at least 4 or 5, right? So it goes to show, and we're talking about from the start of the elimination round, right? Leading to the semifinals. And like we said, they have all gotten better. So what will they bring to the semifinals? For me, number 1 for Creamline, again, we have to go back to the experience they got from representing the country. I think that's going to be big because we see them challenged. They even lost the game, but they're still on top.
Yeah.
They're still in prime position to hopefully for them win the reinforced conference.
And let's not forget the semifinals is another round robin for these teams. So very exciting series na naman. Let's move on to the second matchup. Signal versus Cherry Tigo. What are the keys to winning for these two teams? Alam natin, Signal has always been like almost there. But what do you think will finally break that streak for them?
For me, the last few games of Signal should be a confidence booster for them.
right.
And they should take from that, the momentum. I know it's a cliche when I always say, you have to take from the momentum and blah, blah. But it's true because they played their final games really, really good, and they're hoping that they gelled at the right time. We always say, we hope that they're peaking at the right time, coming to the semifinals. Now for Cherry, for me, a lot of doubts. A lot of people are saying, Cherry, how come they're playing so well, right? But they proved that they're in the semifinals, right? Even given the previous conferences wherein they weren't that successful. I feel the key for Cherry, very important, Mylene Pat, because she's playing like a foreign guest player.
Yeah.
For as long as she does, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They have a big chance.
We saw a lot of that throughout the conference, especially early on in the conference, and it felt like once their spot was secured, maybe a bit tapered off. But then, is this going to be a matchup based on the recent momentum? Nakita natin yung Signal as of late are hopefully for them starting to peak at the right time. Cherry naman medyo nag-taper off from a very, very high start. Do you think that that will follow through in the next round, or should we do with all of that away and say that no, this is the beginning of a new round of quote-unquote momentum?
I would say there are certain teams like Signal who will ride on momentum because they struggled throughout the conference.
Yeah.
But like you said, I totally agree with what you said. For the others, it's more of let's forget it. Let's learn from the past games, the past 8 games that everyone has played, and then we bring what we learned to make us a better team come semifinals.
All right, Ms. Noreen, let's go back to what you mentioned earlier. Let's talk about the reinforcements.
Yeah.
Some reinforced, the foreign players have been a key in some of the teams. Yung iba parang medyo...
Role player, eh.
Yeah, parang
in some ways. Yeah. But then when you look at the list that we have here, what can we expect from these girls? And who needs to step up a bit more to push their team to the next level?
For me, I totally agree with what you said.
Yeah.
You don't need me anymore.
No, I mean, like, we're throwing it out to you here because we can't. Yeah, no, we'll leave it to you.
Ms. Noreen, go.
No, I totally agree when it comes to Signal, Cherry, and Creamline. The foreign guest players are role players, because they're such a complete team and, such explosive offensive players. So, they become role players.
Okay.
But for Petrogas, I feel because this is their conference, their conference to defend, they really rely a lot on their foreign guest players. So, when we see the scores, normally like Basa, Vieira et al., they will score like 17, 16. But Van der Weide will score 27,
much.
Yeah.
24. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
She's a
then
cannon.
you see the difference, right? So that's what I feel. Petrogas will rely a lot on them, but for Creamline, it's smooth sailing and Cherry and Signal as well.